If you've ever looked at a map and wondered how ships get from the Atlantic to the Pacific without taking the long, dangerous trip around South America, you're not alone. The answer is the Panama Canal, a marvel that's as much a story of human ambition as it is of engineering. It's one of those rare places where geography, history, and technology all collide, and the result is something that's changed the world in ways most people don't even realize. Let's start with the basics. The Panama Canal is a man-made waterway about 82 kilometers long, slicing right through the narrowest part of Central America. It connects two of the world's biggest oceans, and it's been doing this job for over a century. But the real magic isn't just that it exists, it's how it works. Because, honestly, the idea of lifting a ship the size of a skyscraper up and over a mountain range, then gently lowering it back down, sounds like something out of science fiction. Yet that's exactly what happens every single day. Picture this. You're the captain of a massive container ship loaded with everything from cars to coffee beans. You're approaching the canal from the Atlantic side, and you know that, without this shortcut, your only other option is to sail all the way down and around Cape Horn at the tip of South America. That's an extra 20,000 kilometers, 2 weeks of rough seas, unpredictable weather, and a lot more fuel burned. Thanks to the canal, you can make the crossing in less than a day. It's not just a shortcut. It's a lifeline for global trade. But here's where things get interesting. The canal isn't just a straight, flat channel. Panama isn't flat at all. In fact, the land rises up in the middle, and the canal has to climb with it. So how do you get a ship that weighs more than 160,000 tons up and over a hill? The answer is a system of locks, giant water elevators that lift and lower ships in stages. Each lock is like a massive bathtub, big enough to hold a ship the length of 3 football fields. The process is so precise that, at times, there's less than a meter of space between the ship and the concrete walls. Now imagine the tension. The captain isn't even in charge anymore. In the Panama Canal, there's a unique rule. Every ship is handed over to a canal pilot, a local expert who knows every twist, turn, and current. These pilots are the best of the best, trained to guide ships through the narrowest passages with almost no room for error. If you mess up here, you're not just risking your own ship. You could block one of the world's busiest trade routes, costing millions every hour. Let's walk through what actually happens when a ship enters the canal. First, tugboats help nudge the vessel into position at the entrance to the first set of locks, called the Gatun locks. Workers on shore throw lines to the crew, who catch them and use them to pull heavy steel cables aboard. These cables are then attached to powerful electric locomotives known as mules, which run on tracks alongside the canal. The mules don't pull the ship forward. They keep it perfectly centered, preventing it from scraping the sides or swinging out of control. Once everything's lined up, the massive lock gates close behind the ship. These gates are feats of engineering themselves. Each one weighs hundreds of tons, but they move with surprising grace. With the gates sealed, valves open, and water from Gatun Lake, an enormous artificial reservoir, rushes in. The ship begins to rise slowly and steadily as the chamber fills. It's all powered by gravity, no pumps, just the careful management of water levels. It takes about 8 minutes to fill a lock chamber, and in that time the ship is lifted about 8 meters. The process is repeated through 3 chambers, raising the vessel a total of 26 meters above sea level. At the top, the ship sails out into Gatun Lake, a calm stretch of water that was once dense jungle and river valley. This lake isn't just a scenic detour, it's the heart of the canal, providing the water needed to operate the locks and serving as a crucial part of Panama's water supply. Crossing Gatun Lake takes a few hours, and it's a chance for the crew to catch their breath. But the hardest part is still ahead. The ship now faces the Culebra Cut, a narrow, winding section carved through solid rock. This was the most difficult part of the canal to build, and even today it demands absolute precision from the pilots. The channel is just wide enough for one ship at a time, and the banks are steep and unforgiving. After the Culebra Cut, the ship approaches the final set of locks, Pedro Miguel and Miraflores. Here the process is reversed. The ship is gently lowered step by step until it's back at sea level, ready to enter the Pacific Ocean. In total, the journey through the canal takes about 8 to 10 hours, but the impact is enormous. Every year, around 14,000 ships make this crossing, carrying everything from oil to electronics to bananas. The tolls they pay, sometimes more than $500,000 per ship, are a major source of revenue for Panama, funding everything from schools to infrastructure. But the canal isn't just about money or convenience. It's a symbol of what people can achieve when they refuse to accept the limits of geography. The story of the canal is full of drama, failed attempts, deadly diseases, political intrigue, and moments of sheer determination. It's a reminder that the world we live in is shaped not just by nature, but by the choices and ambitions of those who came before us. If you step back and look at the big picture, the Panama Canal is more than just a shortcut for ships. It's a living, breathing system that's constantly adapting to new challenges. And honestly, the way it all comes together is kind of mind-blowing. Let's talk about the locks for a second. These aren't just big concrete boxes. Each lock chamber is a carefully balanced machine designed to handle the weight and size of ships that, in some cases, are almost as long as the Empire State Building is tall. The original locks were built to fit what were then the largest ships in the world, what we now call Panamax vessels. But as global trade exploded and ships got even bigger, Panama had to step up its game. In 2016, after nearly a decade of construction, the canal opened a new set of locks known as the Neo-Panamax locks. These are even larger, allowing ships that carry twice as much cargo to make the crossing. It was a massive upgrade, and it kept the canal relevant in a world where everything just keeps getting bigger. But size isn't the only challenge. Water is the real currency of the canal. Every time a ship passes through, millions of liters of fresh water are used to fill and empty the lock chambers. That water comes from Gatun Lake, which is fed by Panama's tropical rains. In a normal year, there's enough rain to keep things running smoothly. But in recent years, droughts and climate change have started to put real pressure on the system. When water levels drop, the canal has to limit the number of ships that can pass each day, or even restrict how much cargo they can carry. It's a delicate balance. Too many ships and the lake could run dry. Too few and Panama loses out on vital revenue. This is where the canal's operators have to get creative. They've introduced water-saving basins which recycle some of the water used in each lock cycle. They're also working on new ways to manage the watershed, planting trees and protecting the forests that help capture rain. It's a constant battle against the elements, and it shows just how much the canal depends on the natural world around it. But let's rewind a bit, because the story of how the canal was built is just as fascinating as how it works today. The idea of cutting a path through Panama goes back centuries. Spanish explorers dreamed of it in the 1500s, but the technology just wasn't there. Fast forward to the late 1800s, and the French made the first serious attempt. Led by Ferdinand de Lesseps, the same guy who built the Suez Canal, they thought they could just dig a sea-level channel straight through the jungle. But Panama isn't Egypt. The rain, the mud, the relentless heat, and especially the diseases, malaria and yellow fever, turned the project into a nightmare. After years of struggle and the loss of more than 20,000 workers, the French effort collapsed. Enter the Americans. In 1904, the United States took over, but they learned from the French mistakes. Instead of trying to dig all the way down to sea level, they decided to use locks and create an artificial lake. It was still a massive challenge. Thousands of workers, mountains of earth to move, and the ever-present threat of disease. But with new medical knowledge and sheer determination, they pulled it off. By 1914, the canal was open for business, and the world suddenly felt a whole lot smaller. Of course, the canal's history isn't just about engineering. It's also about politics and power. For most of the 20th century, the United States controlled the canal, and it became a symbol of American influence in the region. But in 1999, after decades of negotiation, control was handed over to Panama. Since then, the canal has been run by the Panama Canal Authority, a local agency that's turned it into a source of national pride and a major economic engine. Now, if you're picturing the canal as a quiet, peaceful place, think again. On a busy day, up to 40 ships might be making the crossing, each one guided by a team of pilots, tugboat crews, and lock operators. The whole process is a carefully choreographed dance, with everyone working together to keep things moving smoothly. There's a sense of urgency, but also a kind of calm confidence that comes from doing something incredibly complex day in and day out, and it's not just cargo ships. You'll see cruise liners, private yachts, even the occasional research vessel. Each one gets the same careful treatment, because the risks are just too high to cut corners. The canal is a place where precision matters, where a single mistake could mean hours of delay, or worse. One of the most striking things about the canal is how close everything feels. When a ship enters a lock, there's barely any space on either side. The mules keep it perfectly centered, inching it forward with a steady, almost hypnotic rhythm. The gates close with a deep, echoing thud, and then the water starts to rise or fall. It's a process that's both ancient and modern, powered by gravity but controlled by computers and sensors. For the people who work here, the canal is more than just a job. It's a source of pride, a connection to history, and a daily reminder of what's possible when people work together. Many of the pilots and operators are second or third generation canal workers, carrying on a tradition that goes back more than 100 years. They know every inch of the waterway, every quirk of the machinery, and every story that's been passed down through the years. But the canal isn't just about the past. It's constantly evolving, finding new ways to stay relevant in a changing world. The expansion project was a huge leap forward, but there are always new challenges on the horizon. Bigger ships, shifting trade routes, and the unpredictable effects of climate change. The people who run the canal are always looking for ways to adapt, to innovate, and to keep this vital artery of global commerce flowing. And yet, for all its complexity, the canal is also a place of simple beauty. Early in the morning, when the mist is still rising off Gatun Lake and the jungle is alive with the sounds of birds and monkeys, it's easy to forget that you're standing at the crossroads of world trade. There's a sense of peace here, a reminder that even the most ambitious human projects are still part of the natural world.